The Democratic Party was founded to make us compromise. Their whole philosophy was for us to compromise. And we all during the formation of our nation, the Democrats were calling for compromise. One slave state and one free state. It'll be okay. It's fair. And those who want slavery can go to the slave states, and those who don't, it's just common ground and tolerance and fairness. So we had the Kansas-Nebraska Act. We had the Missouri Compromise. We had, every time a state wanted to be free, you had to find a slave state to join them. They wanted compromise. And that's all they ever want until they get the majority. Notice how they tell us to compromise. Mason, watch what you say. Don't be offensive. Don't be closed-minded. Don't be narrow-minded. Be more tolerant. Well, we know they're not tolerant. They're not open-minded. They don't care about offending us. They keep telling us don't. And every time you talk to a liberal, they start telling what you can and cannot say. Well, we're not going to talk about politics. I hate Trump. We're not going to talk about politics. I think Trump is a racist, but we're not talking about, they want you to not respond. They continually to try to dictate and control the way you speak. I wear my Trump hat every day, folks. See it? I got a whole lot of them. I wear it every day. And I've had people come up to me and say, why are you wearing that hat? I'm a 71-year-old grown man, but people feel compelled to come to me and comment on my attire. The Democrats come to you and tell you to wear a mask. They would actually confront a grown man and say, you should wear a mask. I would never consider telling a grown man what he should be wearing. I see guys with their butts hanging out their pants, sagging all down. I don't say put your pants up. I see them with their hats on sideways and crazy, gold teeth in their mouth. I don't say stop doing that because they're grown. But Democrats will continue to tell you what you should not do. And then they continue to tell you you're mean and insensitive and angry and racist and all kind of words. They're very good at labels. If you don't follow their direction, something's wrong with you. That's their philosophy, folks. That's what they do. They've always done this. It's the same spirit that abused women, the same spirit that had slaves in Egypt, the same spirit of serfdom in England. It's what the spirit does. It is deceptive. And they sit around and scheme and plan for decades on you. Right now, they're planning for the election in 2022. They're planning to steal more of our seats. They're planning to call us names. They're planning the destruction of the Republican Party, while the Republican Party is planning on being fair. So the Democratic Party is the party, always have been the party of misery. It was the party, it was founded, think about it, folks, it was founded where it grew for the purpose of oppressing slaves. To study the philosophy of how to get a person so deep-rooted in slavery that you don't need change anymore. You have to chain them up at night anymore. They will pick the cotton. You had slaves bragging about whose plantation was the best, whose master was the best. I have a bigger plantation. I work with Master Gilmore's. He got 45 acres. The slaves were so brainwashed they accepted slavery as their existence. Like a young lady in prostitution. You get a prostitute, she accepts the role of a prostitute. You get a gang member, he accepts the role as a gang member. That's what they are. You will see gangs only in Democrat neighborhoods. Notice that you don't see Bloods and Crips in Republican neighborhoods. So they have this idea of controlling your thought and your emotions. And they're very good at it because it's their church. It's their religion. They study it. They know how to get you riled up. That's why we always argue. They say things that are stupid and crazy, and we spend 20 minutes trying to convince them how stupid and crazy it is, instead of talking the facts. They do that for us. It was the Democratic Party who expanded slavery, controlled slaves, picked the slaves, killed the slaves, beat the slaves. It was the Democratic Party who protected slavery, fought for slavery. It was a union for slavery. It was the Democratic Party who decided that they would rather succeed from the nation to keep their slaves. So now you have this deception that Abraham Lincoln didn't want the Civil War. He didn't want to free slaves. He wrote a letter saying that it didn't matter. Let's come back in the Union. The reason he did that, folks, is that the Republican Party has stood up. The Republican Party came out of this concept of compromise. And the Republican Party stood before the American people and said, we're not going to compromise. That's why I wrote the book. It's okay to leave the plantation. Because if you're going to make the plantation better, Democrats love that. They love to discuss minimum wage increases and low-income housing and more money for inner city schools. They love that because it keeps your butt on that plantation, and all the money that comes in goes to their colleagues and friends. It doesn't come to black folks. So the Democrats were into compromising. Their whole focus was on slaves, breeding slaves, beating slaves, selling slaves, raping slaves, and working slaves to death. Their concept of minimum income was for you to work yourself, make babies to replace yourself, and die before you retire. What they do today, black folks, you're working yourself for 40 years, you retire at 65, 67, the average age of a black man is 69. You go behind work all your life to support the system and get none of that money, because when you die, very little go to your wife. It goes back to the system and it's handed out to the person who lives the longest, the white female. So your behind is still working to protect master's wife and kids, not your own. And if anybody dare mention changing Social Security, go behind you have to protest because masters say we need Social Security. To master my Social Security, he gives you a jingle, he gives you a slogan. And you run out thinking that you're helping master by protecting yourself and your Social Security. They rob you, they text you when they give you the money, they put it in the bank for 40 years, collecting interest on your money. And then when they give it back to you, if they like you, if you're not making too much money in retirement, if you're not haven't done so good investing, they will give you some. And when they give it to you, they tax you again when they give it to you. You're a slave. And you retire broke, and your kids retire broke, and your grandkids retire broke. Broke is a mentality. You become an expert at 15th and the 30th. Stretching your money to the 15th and the 30th. And if Republicans come along with an idea to touch your Social Security, those slave wages, we protest and demonstrate.
Only on UrbanSmartNetwork.com.